Mask up.
2, 1.
So I want to begin by asking you guys, you know, when you're doing an action movie like this, and as directors, is it comforting to know that you're working with real Navy SEALs that know what they're doing when it comes to the action, and there's not that sort of learning curve as far as training an actor how to look realistic with the gun? Is it more comforting?
It was not comforting. It was actually educational, because you would ask them, you know, you had your own preconceived ideas, like how would you enter the room, for example, and then you would sit back and go. They would show you, and you were just like, wow. We would have spent the entire day educating the actors and something like that to try and replicate what they just did.
Yeah, you're working with the best guys in the world that are so integrated in such a fundamental way as a team, as a unit, and they can just move sort of as one organic machine. I mean, for the American public, probably the best way to equate it was like watching, you know, the New York Giants or the Patriots. They're the best guys in the world. They're fully integrated what they do, and you couldn't replicate that with actors and stuntmen properly. It would just look silly. And these guys were the same as the football players. You'd probably see Tom Brady could come up the line and say, you know, blue 42, 42, and the guys would just and go. These guys would roll up on a target, look at each other, give some hand signals, and boom, they would run the entire op.
Were you guys impressed? I mean, were you sort of blown away at certain times by what they could do?
Blown away is not even the word. It's like I said, when we finally got to work and meet with them, you know, you think you're a man until you meet them, and then you realize you're just this little child trying to become me through adolescence, and they're just the most amazing people. I think their physical capabilities, I from my perspective, I was a little bit expective of that, but what blew me away was their intellect and their emotional stability, but more importantly, their relationship with their wives and kids. That to me was, you know, you'd think, I think when we first met them, Rambo Terminator guy is just going to go in and kill everything. So it's so opposite that. It's truly so opposite. There's a time and a place for that, I am sure, and we have seen some of the dark sides. You know, when they have to operate, you know, they're highly focused. You know, and it's really incredible to watch that. But when they're off the battlefield, they're the funniest, the most charismatic people on the planet. You would never. They'd be sitting next to you on the bus stop, and you would have no idea they're Navy SEAL.
Well, let me ask you about that. About sort of the scenes where the SEALs are actually acting, right, and not really doing the action, but really, you know, in dialogue scenes. Was there sort of a learning curve for those guys, or did they just sort of get it right away? Did you have to kind of bring in an acting coach, or?
Well, they're not acting. They're not playing a character. They're just being themselves. And every day we would write dialogue that they would say in those scenes. So it was just that's just what you see is what you get.
Okay.
They would write the dialogue.
Really, they wrote the dialogue.
We would have a skeleton dialogue, and then if they didn't want to say anything there, they wouldn't say anything there. Or if they said, I wouldn't say that, well, what would you say? I'd say this. Say that.
You see this guy move?
Frag out.
Frag out!
All the scenes were organically grown from within them. So when you are listening to these dialogue scenes, this is how they talk.
Wow. Yeah, and all the operational planning was done by the SEALs. So these ops are going down how they really go down. So they were really comfortable being inside of their own operations.
Yeah. And what do you think this film says about servicemen and to the rest of the country who maybe aren't related to servicemen or know servicemen, what it says about what they really go through and the sacrifices they make for their families?
Yeah, the concept of an act of valor, it's not just by Navy SEALs. It's by all the men and women in uniform and all the first responders in this country. I mean, you have men and women that are risking their lives to save people they don't even know, and those are acts of valor. So we just wanted to communicate that concept, to be thinking about sort of the higher ground in a way.
And people are continually, these men and women are continually doing acts of valor for no recognition. It's a rare breed of people now. Yeah. And they deserve to be recognized, even though they don't want to.
Come take my hand, come take my hand. We'll walk this road together through the storm. Hang on, buddy! The cold, the warm. Just letting you know that you're not alone. Holla if you feel like you've been down the same road.
Act of Valor. Rated R. February 24th.